Hello and welcome. Hydrogen needs pipelines. Today, there are massive projects taking shape across Europe. The idea is to build by 2030 a network that will allow hydrogen to flow across Europe. And to talk about it, I am with Marie-Claire Aoun. Marie-Claire, welcome.
Thank you.
You are chair of Gas for Climate, and you are also director of Perspective and Institutional Relations at Terega. Terega is one of the two transmission system operators and storage operators in France. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely.
So let's start with the basics. What is Gas for Climate and what's your purpose?
Well, Gas for Climate is an initiative which was created in 2017 and which gathers around 11 TSOs, so transmission system operator in Europe, so TSO coming from France, from Germany, from Spain, from Belgium, from the Netherlands, from Greece, from Italy. And also we are also working with two biomethane associations. And so the initiative was created in 2017 with the idea of, first of all, to analyze and to have an idea of the potential of renewable gas and hydrogen, and with an idea of reaching carbon neutrality in 2050, taking as much as possible the existing infrastructure and transforming them in order to be able to transport renewable gas, be it biomethane or hydrogen.
So you're interested in all forms of green energy. How important is hydrogen in your focus?
Well, Gas for Climate has been since the beginning working on two legs, the biomethane and hydrogen. And really, the idea is to have a network tomorrow transporting bio-CH4, so replacing all the CH4 that is today fossil gas coming from Russia, Algeria, well, previously coming from Russia. It's not the case anymore in many countries in Europe. So the idea is really to replace this fossil fuel by bio-CH4, so by biomethane, different kind of biomethane coming from agriculture, waste, and others. And also to have another pillar working on hydrogen, and the advantage of hydrogen is that it can be easily transported into the existing gas network with very few modifications to do. And so depending on the needs of the areas, depending on the fact that you have such an industrial located in a zone who needs hydrogen or who needs bio-CH4, we are now transforming the network in order to be able to work on these two parallel renewable gas.
So these days, I keep hearing about the European hydrogen backbone. What is that?
Well, at that time, in 2017, and progressively, the initiative also started to work on the hydrogen network. As we are gas operators, we sat together and we saw that we need to cooperate in order to imagine the hydrogen network of tomorrow. So with initially the Gas for Climate member, 11 TSOs, we started working on this European hydrogen backbone, and progressively the initiative grew and now today it gathers more than 30 TSOs all around Europe, covering 24 countries in Europe. And really the idea behind the European hydrogen backbone is really to identify those parts of the network that can be transformed, repurposed to transport hydrogen in the future. And so with this work that we have been doing, we have a vision of a network in 2030 gathering around 30,000 kilometers of gas pipeline of gas and hydrogen pipeline in the future in 2030, and around 60,000 kilometers in 2040. So really the idea is to have these develop an integrated hydrogen network as of 2030 and based on 60% on existing gas network. And this is really the idea, and the advantage is that we are able to repurpose at lowest cost in order to create this future European hydrogen backbone.
So 30,000 kilometers and 60% of that will be repurposed.
30,000 kilometers in 2030.
Yeah.
And around 57,000 kilometers in 2040. The ratio between repurposed infrastructure and new infrastructure in 2030 is 50-50.
Okay.
But in 2040, we are more around 60% of existing network and 40% of new network. Why is this difference? Is because in 2030, we still need some gas in some areas, whereas in 2040, we think that with the decline of gas demand, we are able to transform a significant part of the network to transport hydrogen.
And so where are you today in your strategy? Which countries are actively involved and which are the main projects?
Well, today, indeed, as I said, we have been working on this vision since 2020 and progressively this initiative developed. And now, beyond the vision, we are really involved in the implementation and in the concretization of this vision. And so today, we have these 30,000 kilometers are really reflecting concrete projects, are really reflecting more than 40 concrete projects all over Europe, and really 24 countries are very much involved in that. And we can say that the European hydrogen backbone is really composed around 5 corridors in order to supply Europe and to meet the decarbonization needs of Europe in terms of industry and in terms of transport. And so within these 5 corridors, we can, for instance, talk about the H2Med corridor, which is the project linking the Iberian Peninsula to France and also to export hydrogen, low-cost hydrogen coming from the Iberian Peninsula towards Germany through France. So it's the H2Med
so Spain and Portugal.
Between Spain, Portugal, and France. So it's also the link between France and Spain, the Barmar project. So this is a very important project for Europe because it can transport 10% of the European hydrogen consumption in 2030, so 2 million tons per year. And the idea and the project is to put it into service in 2030, and we are working hard on that. The partners around this project is Terega, so the French TSO, with GRTgaz, the 2 French TSOs, Enagaz, the Spanish TSO, REN, the Portugal TSO, and also we recently signed a cooperation agreement with OGE, who is the German TSO. And so really the idea is to develop this corridor approach and to link the production with the end consumers who will be located in Germany, and to build this corridor on the whole value chain, gathering all the actors. So this is an example of a concrete project. You have many more other examples, notably in the north of Europe, in Germany, in the Netherlands, but also in Norway, for instance, linking also Norway towards the northern part of Europe. You also have projects coming from Italy, also through exporting. The aim is to export hydrogen coming from North Africa through Italy, and also afterwards going to Germany. So different corridor in order to both supply Europe from imported hydrogen, but also to link different producing zones within Europe with local hydrogen.
Let's talk about funding. What are your funding requirements for all this? I think we're talking tens of billions of euros.
Yes, indeed, it may seem a lot. We have been doing some calculations, and indeed, for instance, a project such as H2Med, to give you an idea, we are talking about capex around 2.5 million of euros. So 2.5 billion of euros, sorry. So huge funding needs, and the European hydrogen backbone, we are talking about funding around 80 billion of euros. So it's a huge.
80 billion euros for the whole.
For the whole network. So okay. Huge investment needs indeed, but I think that we should also see the impact on the hydrogen market, and really the infrastructure is key. And when we do the calculation, we see that at the end it's only representing between 10 and 20, 0.10 or 0.20 euros per kilo per 1,000 kilometers of transport. So it's not a lot in the final price for the end consumer, and really the benefits are really demonstrated because when you link the producing zones with the consuming zones all over Europe, we are able to scale up the hydrogen market. We are able to realize economies of scale much more quickly than if we remained in a decentralized approach. And really the idea is to link those consuming and producing zones as much as possible in order to scale up and to massify the hydrogen market in the future.
Okay, Marie-Claire, we're almost out of time. As a closing note, I know that a number of these projects have applied for PCI approval. Where are you in this process today?
Well, it's almost the end of the process, if I may say, because we will finally have the official announcement of the European Commission probably next week. So a few days more to wait. And indeed, there are some projects which will be selected on this PCI list. PCI, so Project of Common Interest, it means that for those projects who will be on the list, they can benefit from a certain number of facilities, and notably, for instance, an accelerated permitting process, which can help us indeed put into service those projects more quickly. But of course, it is also a possibility to obtain funding through the CEF mechanism. And so if we are selected as a PCI, we will be able to candidate for this CEF mechanism and to obtain European subsidies, which will help us indeed to finance these projects, because indeed the investment needs are key. And as I said, as the production and consumption are today more or less limited, we need public support in the beginning of the project, and progressively the market will take over and will be able to finance it in the future.
Okay, so hopefully good news next week then.
Yes.
Marie-Claire, thank you for being with us today. It was great to have you in the studio.
Thank you.
Everyone, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.